So our circadian rhythm is the way our bodies change in response to the 24-hour cycle of light and dark. Disruptions to this rhythm have been linked to higher risk for many diseases, including cancer. Now, it hasn't been clear why that is, but now new Scripps Research may have an answer. Body temperature and the genes that respond to those temperature changes, in particular when we sleep. Disruption of sleep happens regularly for shift workers, but also others, including parents of newborns even. Joining us now is Katia Lamia, PhD and senior author of the Scripps Research study. Welcome.
Good morning.
So what is it about sleep, body temperature, and cancer that was sort of the aha moment for you in this study?
So our goal in this study was really, just to take an unbiased look at trying to understand why the cancer is higher in people who are have disrupted circadian rhythms, including shift workers. And we used an animal model for lung cancer to try to investigate the mechanisms that underlie their increased tumor formation. And we used a cutting-edge technique to look at gene expression, and that basically enabled us to see that genes that are activated in response to high temperature were more highly present in tumors from animals that were exposed to circadian disruption. And that was really unexpected and made us start looking into whether disruption of natural body temperature cycles might contribute to increased cancer risk in people exposed to circadian disruption.
And can you talk a little bit about body temperature changes when we sleep? What should happen and what isn't happening when people are engaged in shift work and their sleep is so disrupted?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so normally body temperature goes through a daily rhythm, and normally it changes by about 2 degrees, and your body temperature is the lowest when you wake up in the morning, that it's not actually really well documented whether that changes in shift workers, but there have been a few small studies suggesting that people who do shift work lose this nightly drop in body temperature. And our research using an animal model motivates us to look more carefully at shift workers and whether the same thing is happening in them and might explain their increased risk of disease, including cancer.
So based on the study's results, how could scientists then counteract disruption in sleep to protect people who are at higher risk?
Well, I mean, that's something that was not exactly the focus of our study, but there are many other people who are working on trying to understand how to counteract disruption of sleep. What we're really interested in is trying to, what we think this might be able to contribute to benefiting shift workers is potentially identifying people who are at the greatest risk for increased disease in response to disruption. I mean, shift work is an essential part of modern society, but we think that, if we can show that disruption to temperature cycles is one of the main risk factors associated with shift work, that's something that can be easily monitored. And, there are wearable devices that can measure body temperature and could actually monitor people who do shift work to understand if they're particularly susceptible to having their body temperature rhythms disrupted.
Yeah, with shift work, we're talking about people who oftentimes work overnight. Sometimes they sleep during the day, first responders, healthcare workers, even people in television news like me. So what is the optimal sleep schedule for our circadian rhythm? And can it be different depending on the person?
Yes, absolutely. It is different depending on the person. And again, this is not my particular area of expertise, but there are other people who have studied sleep cycles in detail. And there are some well-known, genetic factors that influence your need for sleep and the timing of sleep. And there's something called a chronotype that every person has. And, the average person probably, does best with about 8 hours of sleep from about, 10 or 11 p.m. to 6 or 7 a.m. But it does depend on the person. There are some people who are naturally more night owls, some people who are more naturally morning people, and those things can also influence your susceptibility to increased disease risk in response to shift work or other disruptive activities.
Right. So is there anything other than sleep that can affect our circadian rhythms?
Oh, absolutely. The main stimulus that actually drives the setting of your internal timers is light. And so that's one reason why it's really important to get outside and get exposed to bright sunlight during the day and to avoid too much light exposure at night. That's the main stimulus that sets your overall circadian rhythm. But there also is an important signal coming from when you eat. And I think you had a guest yesterday who talked about that. And that's something that we're understanding more and more with ongoing research.
Yeah, very important as you talk about getting enough light and also trying to make your room as dark as possible when you do go to sleep if it's light out. Katya Lamia, PhD, senior author of the Scripps Research study. Thank you so much. Fascinating stuff.
Thank you. It was nice speaking with you.
Well.